Hey healers, hey, this is an ancestral energy healing message for the collective, specifically those who have had something going on with your eating habits or your smoking habits or both. So this is a message for anybody that's been dealing with an eating disorder or dealing with anything, like maybe you haven't had enough money to eat, or you have had some type of chronic illness that's affecting what you can eat, or allergies, or maybe an eating disorder, something like that. You would have been dealing with that at least probably within the past 6 months, at least, if not longer. And with your smoking habits, you could either be like, you could be a smoker, you could be quitting smoking or trying to quit smoking. You could be a smoker of any kind, like it doesn't matter, but the point is that you smoke. You smoke habitually, you smoke regularly, you have some type of dependency on smoking. This could be veering into alcohol and other drugs too. Like it basically, we're talking about substance use as well as eating disorders or some type of disordered, dispatterned eating habit. Okay, so we're on the same page. Okay, this reading is for you. If this resonates, this reading is for you. Okay, this has to do with the ancestral curse breaking of the famine curse. Like if you come from a lineage, you might not even know this, that your lineage has famine in it. That means that people from your lineage have experienced famine. So some common lineage that people think of is Irish, Palestinian, Somalian, Sudanese. When it comes to famine, a really, really good way to get people to do what you want is to control their eating or control their ability to eat. Control what they eat. Just like with kids. So a lot of the psychological functioning of government looks at people as kids and uses similar tactics. So you guys are coming from ancestral experiences where your ancestors could not protect you at all. They could do nothing to protect you from the people that had governmental ownership over you in some type of way, whether it's empire. Hopefully you guys can hear me. It's not getting too windy now. The winds of change, my friends, are blowing. So basically what's happening internally as you're struggling through whatever's coming up for you, whether it's your own doing of choosing not to eat or fasting. I mean, this is Ramadan. All Muslims are fasting, so this could be a really strong message for any Muslim too. And the thing about it is, like, I was born into Islam. Other people convert, but people have always gone back and forth between whatever religion was most advantageous for them. It's just like lesbians who turn straight, or straight people who turn gay when they're traumatized by whoever they've been dating, but then they just switch back and forth to try to find whatever gender is not going to traumatize them. But it's not likely that it's not about the gender. Alright, so anyways, this is the same with colonialism and the who is the oppressor. This is the unfortunate reality that I'll keep speaking on, that the idea of blaming white people for colonization is so retarded, because they didn't invent colonization. They're not the oldest people. There's no such thing. White and black are social constructs. They're not lineages. The people that they're actually talking about when they talk about white people are actually white aliens. But anyways. that's not what this video is about. So what we're seeing is basically, there's the stories of how humans used to be like breatharians. They lived off the air, they lived off the sun, they lived off the ether, they lived off the electrical energy, the sexually charged energy. And now we eat food, and we look at like, where did this come from? The food is a sacrament. The number one most important thing in your healing journey is to make sure that you're getting enough food to eat. But sometimes you might be going through an ancestral test or some type of clearing, and you have to go through this struggle, especially for those of you that like haven't been experiencing where you literally don't have money to eat. You haven't been able to like consistently have enough food, and it's not because you're choosing that. There are certain feelings and impressions so there's certain feelings and impressions from past generations that they had when they were starving. And there's like basically the synapses between the brain and the gut. There's a lot of intra-body messaging systems, like different systems within your own body that send messages to each other for your body to function optimally. There's a lot of cross wires and because of the impacts of starvation and sacrifice, and I'm hearing segregation too, so I'm not sure exactly what that's about, but it's basically like certain treatment where you didn't get to get full. It was like always just not enough, and then there was always like a huge sacrifice involved. And then there was like a lot of shame and guilt involved too. So some people started avoiding to eat, like even when they had the option. It's like there's basically an aversion. So this is all the different like tangled up synapse responses that are getting cleared up. And it'll be different for you depending on your story, your families, what happened to y'all. But all these different experiences that have gotten like tangled up together in the synapses of the messaging system in the body, they perpetuate the curse because they perpetuate certain actions. Like they keep you locked into certain actions where you think it's the right thing to do, but it's really not. It's like, it's just a response that is programmed. So basically what's happening with the reason why these starvation campaigns are so successful at eliminating populations is because not just because they literally can't, like people literally die from starvation, but because it creates a trauma response in them to where they're easily controlled. They're beholden, and they'll submit to authority and to the status quo because they're hungry. This is like the most dangerous you can be is well-fed. This is so crazy. I love this message, honestly. But I've been working on this for over a year. This group ancestral energy healing for the collective, specifically on the refugee famine poverty curse. Like I've been going through it, y'all. Like the way that this shit has played out in my own life, and I have no choice but to look at how I caused it, because I'm programmed a certain way to make certain responses seem normal when they're not normal to people who don't have this curse. And that's why those people don't perpetuate the curse for themselves, because the only way the curse works is if you continue to perpetuate it on yourself. After a certain point, it can't still be going, it can't still be working. Like it has a limitation, a statute of limitation on the curse, if you will. So after a while it'll run out, but what they're counting on is the behavioral patterns to be permanently altered in such a way that that lineage is always cursed. They're always damned. They're always doomed. So don't be that. So one of the manifestations of this is heart disease, lung disease, liver failure, and these are affected by smoking. So what I've also been seeing through this time is the way that smoking plays into this. Because like for some reason I took up smoking, and I feel like I be going through stuff and I be doing stuff just to report back to the collective on like what the fuck is going on. But it's my own natural healing process. There's such a thing as a hair of the dog in healing, where you like give yourself something that is poisonous in order to expel more poison. Does that make sense? I hope so. So this is what's happening with me with my smoking is that's what I'm doing. I'm purging some stuff out, and I'm seeing where this comes from. What I found is that the main reason that smoking became so popular is because people were hungry. People also use it as a way to like curb their appetite, to not be as hungry, to lose weight. Well, that should tell you something. I mean, there's a lot of people that don't need to lose weight or don't want to lose weight, but they don't have weight because they don't have food and they just smoke. They don't eat, they just smoke. Smoking is one of the biggest like defense mechanisms, or like what's it called, like I feel like with the ways that Arab people deal with grief is like smoking, sugar, shopping, period. Like in maybe some type of emotional outburst or just way. Every ethnicity has their different ways. Oh girl, my dog is a jumper girl. Oh girl. So everyone has their different ways. But something's coming up about sourcing authentic dopamine, because basically cigarettes and smoking and just any type of drugs or substances or even a lot of food in general, it's just like it's just a way to manipulate the dopamine to know that like don't give yourself a cheap dopamine fix or a cheap dopamine hit, and you won't necessarily need the cheap dopamine hit if you're resourced with it from other places, like good food, good friends, having fun, hanging out, playing with sunshine. You won't necessarily need it, but you will already be juiced up in that way already, so that you don't have such a deficit, because the dopamine deficit is coming from the curse. These generational reoccurring experiences where people just lost everything that they worked for, and they lost everything. They got it back, they lost it again, they got it back. Like, it's like, look at your life and look at the things you've done and the things you've been through. This is them. And a lot of times we don't know that about our ancestors because we don't see them at that part of the story. We see them at the end of the story. But we're being called to have tons of compassion for our parents and our grandparents and all layers of our ancestry. They're like, especially, I'm getting a strong message about white ancestors, so I think I should just bring this up because, a lot of people nowadays have a perspective on race, ethnicity, race relations, and like who's oppressed, who's the oppressor. And that perspective, like, often it just basically paints white people as the oppressors and as the colonizers and as the horrible people that are the ones that need to do the work to fix racism, and they're like basically everything that's wrong with the world. That's so not trauma informed when you look at the reality of white lineages that come from slavery, that all over the world have been trafficked and abducted, and you can't even say that, like, for example, white women are the ones that get so much backlash, like Karens, and people love to bash white women, and I strongly feel that it's because they're an easy target, because they're victims of colonization, like, and I've seen it in my ancestral energy lineage healing sessions with clients where I've gone to their ancestry and I've seen what actually happened. And to assume that just because people are a darker color, that means that they're more oppressed. That's also racist, in case you guys didn't realize. And I don't think that it's not racist when you're prejudging, being prejudiced and discriminating against white people based on their race. How is it not? So because people basically use a lot of doublespeak, and there's certain things that you have to say in order to be viable in certain spaces. And so everyone says those things and they repeat those things, and they don't even think or consider like the source of that information, the source of that perspective. What's it all about? What's the point? What's actually happening? Because people are not privy to military secrets and like governmental agenda that is achieved through psychological operations. So, anyways, not that I know anything about that. I have a mission to equip the people that I can with the tools, skills, knowledge, and understanding to keep yourself and your family safe in any type of global crisis situation. Because it's going to be your intuition that saves you every time. And it's nothing that I can give. It's nothing that anyone can give you. It's something that you already have. It's not necessarily something that anybody can teach you. I teach you how to work with it, but it's yours ultimately. So that's a muscle that is in your body. That's a skill that you possess. That's a strength that you develop. And you work with teachers, coaches, and guides in order to make it stronger. You train on the off times when you're not so much needing it, so that way when you do need it, it's available, it's ready, it's primed, it's strong. And the ultimate goal of famine, poverty campaigns, refugee curses is to weaken the population to the point that they'll be able to be nothing more than slaves if they survive at all. And they're so thoroughly soaked in slave programming that they don't know the difference, and they'll even keep others in their community beholden to the slave programming that they're beholden to. So it works really well because people keep themselves enslaved, they keep other people enslaved. So when people think that they know who the oppressor even is, you don't. You don't see them. They're nowhere to be found. So anyways, you guys, on that note, I love to hear your thoughts. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, say mashallah, tell a friend to tell a friend, and stay tuned. Peace, sailors.